Welcome back to MicroVerse. In this previous lecture, we learned that Anthony van Leeuwenhoek was the first scientist to observe living microorganisms. His discovery confirmed that an invisible microbiology world truly exists. However, this discovery immediately raised another important scientific question. Where do these microorganisms come from? Do they arise naturally from non-living matter, or do they originate from pre-existing living organisms? This question remained controversial for many years until it was answered by Louis Pasteur through one of the most elegant experiments in this history of science. Let's understand how Pasteur solved this mystery. Before Pasteur experiment, many scientists believed in the theory of spontaneous generation. According to this theory, living organisms could develop spontaneously from non-living matter. For example, microorganisms were appear automatically in nutrient broth after some time. At that time, there was no experimental evidence to prove whether this belief was correct or incorrect. Pasteur decided to investigate this question using a carefully designed scientific experiment, which is swan-neck flask experiment. Pasteur prepared a flask containing sterile nutrient broth and heated it to destroy all existing microorganisms. Instead of leaving the mouth of the flask open, he used specially designed neck flask, which had a long curved neck. This design allowed air to enter freely but prevented dust particles carrying microorganisms from reaching the nutrient broth. As a result, the broth remained clear and sterile for prolonged period. This observation demonstrated that exposure to air alone was not sufficient for microbial growth. What happened when the neck was broken? Pasteur then broke the curved neck of the flask. Now, dust particles and microorganisms from the surrounding environment could directly enter the nutrient broth. After some time, the broth became cloudy because microorganisms multiply rapidly. The only change in the experiment was that environmental microorganisms gained access to the sterile broth. This clearly demonstrated that microbial growth occurred due to contamination by pre existing microorganisms, not because life originated spontaneously. So, based on this observation, Pasteur rejected the theory of spontaneous generation. Instead of, he established the principle of biogenesis, which states living microorganism arises only from pre-existing living microorganism. This principle became one of the fundamental concepts of a microbiology and remains valid today. Pasteur's experiment had a profound impact on the medical science. It demonstrated the importance of a controlled experiment in answering scientific questions. More importantly, it laid the foundation of the germ theory of disease, which was later strengthened by the work of Robert Koch. Pasteur's finding also influenced the development of aseptic techniques, sterilization, and pasteurization, all of which are essential in modern microbiology and medicine. So, remember these key points. First, theory disapprove means spontaneous generation, theory establish means biogenesis, experiment, which is swan-neck flask experiment, and scientist is Louis Pasteur. A simple memory quiz. Air entered, but germs did not. This explains why the broth remained sterile until microorganisms were allowed to enter. So, in today's lecture, we answer another fundamental scientific question: where do microorganisms came from? Pasteur demonstrated that microorganisms do not arise spontaneously from non-living matter. Instead, they originate from pre-existing microorganisms. This discovery transformed microbiology from speculation into experimental science. Although Pasteur proved where microorganism came from, one important question still remain unanswered. Can a specific microorganism actually cause a specific disease? This question was answered by the German physician Robert Koch, who developed a scientific method to establish a causal relationship between microorganism and disease. So, in our next lecture, we will discuss who was Robert Koch. Thank you for learning with MicroVerse. Keep learning, keep growing, and let's master microbiology one concept at a time.